exporters are changing tactics by adding value to their products, pushing their earnings to five-year high of 2025. Apart from value addition, there's also increase in demand for some of the nation's products, such as cocoa, shoes, and food products in various parts of the world. A trade finance expert who's also a lead consultant at 3T Impex Consulting, Dr. Bamidele Ayimbo, commended the efforts of the NEPC looking at the increase in proceeds from export goods.
Recently, the Ministry of the Raw Material Research Agency actually proposed a bill. I don't know if it's Senate or House of Rep. One of them have passed the bill, and they're waiting for the second House. And the goal is to minimize export of raw materials to increase value addition. Even though I feel that's not a good way to go about it, I feel if government incentivize the businesses, they are going to do it because if they know government is supporting, because there are issues with power, there are still issues with infrastructure, a number of things affecting manufacturing and production. So trying to force people to add value might not be a good way to go. But I understand it's well intended, but we're not there yet for value addition. And for what you can see that apart from fertilizer, majority of the other products are predominantly raw material, with cocoa leading the way. We have cashew, we have sesame, and a number of other agro-commodities. We are growing in value addition, no doubt. And even in diversification, according to NEPC, I think from 202 to about 236 different products. So we definitely having new products coming up, but in terms of value addition, we're not doing enough yet.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Customs Service says it is stepping up efforts to balance revenue generation, trade facilitation, and national security, placing revenue focus on tackling illicit imports. Comptroller General Bashir Adeniyi announced this while unveiling seizures worth more than 10 billion naira, including Canada cannabis, arms, and ammunition at the Apapa ports. TVC News senior business correspondent Ifunaya Eze reports.
In what the Customs Comptroller General described as one of the service's most significant operations in recent months, intelligence-led searches and scanner-assisted checks uncovered 16 containers loaded with contraband. They include Canadian cannabis, arms and ammunition, expired drugs, prohibited food items, frozen poultry, codeine syrup, and counterfeit goods. The Comptroller General defended the decision to restrict pharmaceutical containers from being moved to bonded terminals, pointing to widespread breaches of security and licensing requirements.
Our obligations in licensing them is not only to facilitate trade, but also ensure that security and compliance regulations are met. Have all the bonded terminals met these obligations? Some of them have, but so many of them have failed to meet this obligation. Our mandate to keep our nations safe from the threats posed by the importation of hard drugs, pharmaceuticals, and other criminalities that threaten our nation is unshaken.
There is a line of consistency in this importation. Earlier, we had picked 3, which the CDC showcased during its last visit. Today, we have 2. And as you can see, these toilet seats were used in concealing them. So the toilet seats will form the first 2-3 rows, and subsequently we start seeing the codeine syrup. They are from India.
He says the 5 suspects have been arrested, with 3 already charged in court. Comptroller General Adeniyi pledged closer collaboration with local and international partners such as NAFDAC and NDLEA to dismantle criminal supply chains.
We have similar MOUs with about 10 other customs administrations of interest to us, so that things that have to do with drugs, arms and ammunition and other criminal products that are imported to Nigeria, we are able to track and trace those behind them.
He assured that future operations will remain security-driven, intelligence-led, and targeted at protecting both the economy and public health. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
Meanwhile, the stock market resumes bullish trading after a break of one session witnessed last Friday. The index of the market moved up by 0.13%, underscoring business gains in many sectors. Now, Stanbic IBTC was the top gainer with 10%, followed by UPDC and Suno Assurance, ICO Insurance, and Veritas Capital. The decliners included Abe Buildings, ABC Transport, UACN, VFD Group, and WAPCO. Meanwhile, major shares index crept higher in Asia today as companies' earnings underpinned high valuations in the tech sector, while a crucial report on U.S. inflation would likely set the course of the dollar and bonds. Japan's stocks market was closed for a holiday, while Eurostock 50 futures added 0.2%, FTSE futures rose 0.1%, DAX futures fell 0.2%, S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq futures both edged up 0.1%. to near record highs. MSCI's broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside of Japan gained 0.3%. South Korea KOSPI was flat. Chinese blue chips added 0.5% after data showed consumer price inflation ticked up in July, but producers' prices kept falling as the country's massive manufacturing sector exported deflation to the rest of the world. Meanwhile, chips giant Nvidia and AMD have agreed to give United States government a share of revenue from chip sales in China as part of a deal to secure export licenses for their products. The United States, under the leadership of President Trump, had previously halted the sale of powerful chips used in areas like artificial intelligence to China under export controls usually related to national security. The H20 chip was developed specifically for the Chinese market after U.S. export restrictions were imposed by the Biden administration in 2023. Under the agreement, Nvidia will pay 15% of its revenues of H20 chip sales in China, while AMD will pay same percentage of revenue generated from sales of its MI308 chip in China to the United States of America. Mexico has set minimum export price for fresh tomatoes to protect its domestic production to ensure internal supply after a bilateral agreement with the United States expired. This decision follows Washington's withdrawal in July from the 2019 deal between two countries, which regulated Mexican tomatoes exports to U.S. The new pricing rules applies exclusively to definitive exports, but will be reviewed annually. Minimum export prices of kilogram are set at $1.70 for cherry and grape tomatoes, 88 cents for Roma tomatoes, 0.95, that's a 95 cents for round tomatoes, $1.65 for round tomatoes with stems. Other varieties such as cocktail and heirloom tomatoes will also have a price of $1.70. According to Mexican Agricultural Ministries, the country exported $3.3 billion of tomatoes last year. This measure is to reinforce government's commitments to competitiveness, dignify rural employment, and food sovereignty. And finally, crude oil prices held steady as markets awaited a meeting in coming days between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Donald Trump. Prices marked their steepest weekly losses since late June on the tariff hits on economic outlook. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell to $63.45 with a downward review of 0.67%. Brent sells for $66.20 with a downward margin of 0.59%. Bonnie Light sells for $78.62 with a decline of 2.84%. And for the OPEC basket, dealers offer $69.49, down 1.56%. That's business news at 10. Next is sports with Ikechukwu Obieno.
Nigeria is on a progressive march